Okay, I think I'm rolling everywhere. Oh God, I'm rolling everywhere. Yeah, I'm rolling everywhere. You rolling?
All right. Yes. So, first off, Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year.
And second, did you get to a track this past week?
No, but I saw that a subscriber posted in our Discord earlier that they made a track.
Yes.
Did you listen to it?
I did.
Oh, I didn't.
I listened to it actually when he emailed it, but so anytime any of you, fun fact, if you send us an email and I read it, and then I mark it unread.
So I don't see it.
Well, no, I mark it unread, so it still looks new. So I remember to go back and respond, and then I just haven't. But yes, and we've had a lot of suggestions that the viewers should submit a theme. So maybe one day we could it'd be fun to have an episode that's just submitted intro tracks.
Sure.
That we could rifle through.
Sure. The way that I work through my email every day is I see an important email. I click on it. I read the first 2 sentences and think this is important. I'll remember to respond to this later. And then I move on to the next email that's not important. And then 3 days goes by and I go, oh, damn it. That person emailed me 3 days ago. I'll get to it later. And then 6 weeks goes by and I get a follow-up email. Hey, did you get our original email? Yeah, I did. Damn it. So that's my life, a perpetual state of.
Same. I am just so thankful that Gmail has reminders. Have you noticed that? Do you use any of that?
No.
Where it's like, you got this email 5 days ago. Would you like to respond? And it's like, oh yeah. So
all that to say, we don't have a track this week. No, because our email, it was our email's fault.
Yes, it didn't remind us.
Yeah, it was Gmail's fault. Well, yeah. Happy New Year, Zach. What? I'm sorry, Zach, as it says here in the. Oh yeah, so we should shout out everyone as usual. If you want to join us live while we are recording the pod for your consumption and enjoyment, you can do so by joining our Patreon, which is linked down below, starting at $2 a month. And drum roll, we finally have merch.
I'm gonna link it in the Discord right now, and we'll get it in the description. Just gonna go with the Teespring store for now. I think it's that way we don't have to stock anything. We don't have to worry about shipping anything. So if you're not familiar with how Teespring works, it's a print-on-demand service where you buy something and then they have a batch of stuff they print and then they ship it out for us. And it's going to be really convenient for us because we can eventually link it up to our YouTube and have everything kind of interworking together with the least amount of effort possible.
Yes. So. That's very on brand for both Zach and myself. The minimal effort, like just enough to clear the bar and then no more. That's us.
Is there anything wrong with that? I mean, as long as you're like,
no,
as long as you're reaching the bar, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
sure. And then somebody raises the bar and you're, shit. Okay. I got to try a little bit harder. But yeah, so what we're going to do is the merch is going to continually evolve over time. It's going to be like, what's that clothing brand that all the kids freak out over? Supreme, where there's like different seasons and all that shit. So we're going to do like dipped in tone merch season 1 dropping now. And it's a limited run. So don't, whatever.
Yeah. I always thought that Supreme thing was like an ironic joke. Like I didn't realize it was serious because it's just like a white text in a red box. And I was like, people are paying money for this? Like I never understood, but yeah, we'll continually kind of like retire things and get new ideas. Cause the idea is just like, anytime we say something that stands out or is funny or happens in the chat, we want to kind of like pounce on it and have it be something that we can all have like these inside jokes with each other on shirts.
Yes. And so what we want you to do is spend your hard-earned money on a shirt or hoodie or coffee mug that has a word or phrase on it that no one else will understand when you wear it publicly, but
What
you'll
is
get it.
Shoyles?
So yeah, check out the merch link down below. All right, Zach,
Yeah.
it's New Year's Day. This is my least favorite day of the year, followed by it's following my least favorite week of the year. The week between Christmas and New Year's is awful.
Yeah.
And I was on a live stream or a podcast the other night which I'll talk about in a second, and somebody called it the taint of the year, which I thought was perfect. I've never heard that said before, but the week between Christmas and New Year's, it's like the worst week because the weather's horrible. You're in this sort of limbo of, well, I need to work, I need to get some stuff done, but it's kind of feels like vacation, and usually there's family around, and then, well, should I be relaxing? Should I be working? What do I do? And then New Year's Day is just like this delirious, you stayed up way too late, you drank way too much, but it's a Friday today, so you need to get some kind of work done, and it's a mess. I hate it.
You know what it feels like? It feels like when you're a kid and you have a day off of school in the middle of the week, and you have to go back and have like that. Like that's what the last week of the year is.
The worst.
Like.
It's the worst.
But yeah. So all that to say, do you do resolutions? Do you have like a plan for them? Okay. Well,
and I actually, you know what? I try and be realistic about my resolutions. I don't do things like I'm going to lose 30 pounds and I'm going to do all this stuff. Not that that's unrealistic. I don't want to shit on anybody's resolutions. Right. Okay. Sorry. But no, I try and make a resolution that is attainable, because I find that if I have a goal, if I have like a stick in the sand to aim for, I can usually stay focused and work towards that over a long period of time. What about you?
Yeah, absolutely. I used to kind of set kind of high bars, but I just always let myself down. So most of the things that I work on, I try to like accomplish in January. So then I feel like I did it. What are some of your plans for 2021?
First and foremost, to get the hell out of this storage closet. Like I'm done, man. Like even just now setting up for the podcast, this furnace was just blasting full on. I don't mean to sound ungrateful and like I'm complaining, because it's been a great space and I've been able to make the most of this space for however long it's been now. But oh God, I'm sick of hearing toilets flush when I'm trying to record something, and I'm sick of water dripping from the pipes on my computer while I'm working on something, and I'm just tired of it. So that's goal number one. What about you?
Probably my biggest goal this year is just to get organized. And I already kind of started that. For any of those that are self-employed, the last week of the year is also a mad dash to spend as much money to write off on your taxes. So I set up a new email thing with Google where I can actually break down all my emails, because I get so inundated by repair things or just customer questions or dealer requests or orders. And so now I'm going to have like orders at mythospedals.com and, repairs at Mythos Pedals. So everything can kind of go in the right box. And so I'm not like, oh yeah, I have to do that thing. Where did I put that? Who was that? I can kind of compartmentalize all the work I have to do. And just organization in general is going to be one of my biggest goals for this year. And so I've already started that email thing. I just have to make sure that all my dealers use it, which is, that's a battle in and of itself.
And then that's a really good thing. My other big goal for this year is 500,000 subs on YouTube. That's like the big, don't know if I can hit that, but it's kind of the overarching theme, the overarching goal for the whole year. So yeah. Do you have anything like that? Do you do like one sort of attainable thing that you can knock out relatively easily, and then one sort of big thing?
No, I don't try to. Well, I mean, like a big thing I want to do this year is have stuff made for me. And that's already that wheel is already turning. That's been turning since April. But not anything like super grandiose for me. But what'll help with your way to that many subscribers? Our new sponsor, Raid Shadow Legends. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Oh my God. No, we need to tell them about that. We were talking about this the other day about like, man, we need to get some sponsors for the channel. I was like, we could, how many times Rage Shadow Legends has emailed me? We could just hit them up. I've literally gotten to the point with Raid where I told them on 3 different occasions, like, thanks for the opportunity, not interested. It's not going to work for my channel. My audience doesn't care about that. I don't do a lot of like sponsored content, not going to work. And they just kept emailing. And I finally just, in so many words, basically told them to get lost, saying, your product sucks. And I don't want to be associated with that at all. Stop emailing me, please. And that worked.
Well, no.
But we are bringing Raid Shadow Legends on to the pod. You know what I love to do, Zach, in my time off is to sit and play Raid Shadow Legends while I'm working on my sick tones for my guitars, so that's great. You should all do that.
Hey.
God, I can't wait till we have sponsors and we can actually just butcher live reads.
I'm into it, man.
I am too, man. All right.
Anyway.
Let's move on to our next segment. This is week 3 in a row. Oh, we're on episode 19, right?
Yes.
Cool, because I mislabeled it in the live stream. I called it 20. But this is episode 19 of Dipped in Tone. Welcome, everyone. We are doing this for the 3rd week in a row. We're going to dip somebody's rig here.
Oh.
Zach, who do we have lined up this week?
We have... let me open the email again. We have.
Can you share in the Discord because I don't have my email open?
We have Victor Reyes. Reyes, Reyes.
Yeah.
And so Victor sent us a picture of his guitar rig, and it says, "My name is Victor, and this is my home rig. The amp is a Marshall Valve State 100 half stack that his dad used to gig with in the 90s. Guitar is a late 90s Fender Mexican Strat stock. A new Epiphone Les Paul Standard 50s with the better headstock. And he's got a smattering of other guitars, but it looks like his main rig is this Marshall Valve State, the Fender Mexican Standard Strat, the Epiphone Standard Les Paul, and a Crybaby Wah. And I think what we should do is kind of give him some advice on like taking this rig to the next level."
Got it. All right, I like that. Let me let you go first. I'm gonna post this in the old Discord so our lovely patrons can see what we're talking about here.
Yes. So let me pull that picture up too. So right off the bat, I think guitar-wise, you're good. Like Strat, a Mexican Strat. In a lot of ways, Strats are Strats. You can take them to the next level with some nicer pickups and better wiring and all that. But at the end of the day, I feel like most Strats sound like Strats, and they kind of get that point across. The Les Paul, being that it's a new one, and Epiphone and Gibson with that whole brand have kind of taken like the bull by the horns and done everything they basically can do, I think, with making those as good as they could be out of the box for not crazy money. Great guitar.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Everybody I've heard that's played them really likes them. And I saw them at NAMM, but I didn't play them. Did you?
Yeah, I played them. I think, people have given Epiphone and Gibson so much shit for a long time, and rightfully so, on their quality control and build issues and stuff. And I don't think they're 100% there, but I think they've made improvements, and specifically around Epiphone, I think they have really, really done right by that whole brand and sort of brought it back in line with what sort of the ethos of Epiphone should be, which is an affordable, attainable guitar for the masses that's actually good,
Yeah. So, like, seeing that the guitars, I think, would be totally serviceable for a long time. But, like, what do you think the next course of action would be? If this was your setup, like, where would you go?
Well, I'd start building some sort of pedal board, some sort of effects board. I think depending on what style of music they play is going to depend.
He did mention that. Let me pull that up.
Yeah, that's going to help in my my guidance here.
Yeah, so he says all sorts of rock from Pink Floyd to Clapton to Stone Temple Pilots to Foo Fighters.
Okay, great. So Pink Floyd to Stone Temple Pilots to Foo Fighters. Here's what I would do. Delay. A good delay. Nothing crazy expensive, but get yourself a good delay that's either an analog delay or a digital delay that will do sort of the analog tape kind of thing. If you're going for a lot of those Gilmour tones, a lot of the Foo Fighters stuff, actually, a lot of, they use delay in some fun ways. Mm-hmm. I would add some kind of overdrive, maybe a dual stage like boost and overdrive together.
Sure.
And then on top of that, I would add some kind of modulation, phaser, perhaps flanger, something like that.
Yeah. I mean, does STP use a lot of modulation? I've never listened to a lot of Stone Temple Pilots, if I'm being
I haven't either, to be honest. But I do think the reason I suggested the modulation thing was more so like the Pink Floyd stuff, right. Maybe it's a multiple sort of like a multi-modulation, like the Joyo. Joyo makes a really cheap one that's got a bunch of different mod effects in it. And you can do like the rotary thing, and you can do flange and phase and all that kind of stuff. Especially like with the rotary effect, that's going to pull you into like that Gilmour Dark Side of the Moon, Breathe kind of sounds really well.
Yeah. I mean, that was just Univibe,
But didn't he tour with a rotary cabinet though? That Yamaha rotary cabinet with the vertical horns?
Maybe later, but I know like if you watch like Live at Pompeii and then the making of Dark Side, he has a pretty straightforward. It's very Hendrixy his rig,
Mm-hmm.
But all the stuff on the record of Dark Side was a Univibe, and it's really. If you've never watched the making of Dark Side of the Moon, it's incredible. They show how they made the actual tape loop for money and all that stuff. It's amazing. But anyway, I think you're right. I think getting a solid delay pedal and then having some sort of overdrive that will afford you a lot of options would really get you to that next stage of tone.
Yeah.
And then modulation's weird. I feel like that's a journey that everyone has to go on and find what really suits their playing, because I think Univibe and some really simple chorus is great, but for a lot of people it's not extreme enough. But if it were me, I would probably dive in first to a better, well, not better, but a tube amp of some form or another, because the
Wait, which Marshall is that? You said that's the...
It looks like a Valve State.
Yeah, okay.
Valve State 100. So, I mean, the Valve State stuff is okay, is serviceable. I know a lot of people that had those in the late 90s, early 2000s when they came out. There was a really popular amp. But...
Well, we have to think budget in mind, because, this... if we were to throw the book at this thing, we'd be spending, several $1,000s of this person's money. So That's why my initial thought was, because there's no effects present other than the wah, and we start with that route, and then later down the road upgrading to a better amp. That would be my plan of attack.
I think for me, because I'm always I'm such a minimalist when it comes to effects, I want the foundation to be as solid as possible, the amp and the guitar to really be to be it. But you're right, whenever you're starting out building a rig, you kind of just have to let the amp be as it may and build on top of it. But trying to think of a budget friendly, or not necessarily budget friendly, I mean, who knows what Victor's budget is, or if he's even interested or whatever. We're just kind of spitballing here, but something that wouldn't break the bank for someone wanting to go from a solid state, essentially Marshall, to a tube amp. Maybe something like the Black Star amps.
Yeah, Black Star stuff is cool. That could work out really well.
Because that would give you I mean, those have a really great overdrive sound, so you could cover a lot of the, the Foo Fighters and that sort of thing. You dare I say you might not need a pedal, if depending on how much you like that overdrive. So,
I mean, the other option though is modeler.
Yeah.
Maybe
totally
you try and get your hands on a used Kemper, a Helix, something like that. Especially if you're starting out, if Victor's in high school or kind of starting out as a player, I think it could be beneficial in some respects. And I'm sure I'm going to get destroyed in the chat for this, but whatever, I don't care. If you're starting out and you're trying to go for a wide variety of tones, maybe the move is trying to get your hands on like a used Kemper where you can start to experiment with different sounds and you can start to learn an approximation of, hey, this is a Plexi, this is an AC30, this is a dual rec or whatever it is that you're using, and starting to build effects and trying to create sounds and trying to craft, tones when you have everything. The risk with that is, especially for someone starting off, having access to everything all at once, you're not going to really know sort of what to do. It's like, having all of the plugins or something on a DAW and thinking like, well, what compressor should I use? I don't even know what all of these things do,
Right.
So yeah, it's you have several different options to go down. I think I'm going to stick with my original plan. I think you get your hands on 4 pedals, and I'm going to slightly tweak it. I think you should get a fuzz, some kind of fuzz. The Mythos Golden Fleece, perhaps. Hey. And then I do think some kind of maybe boost or overdrive, a delay for sure, and then either a reverb or modulation sort of thing, whatever you're feeling. I think with those 4 pedals, you could really go a long way in crafting some sounds that you're after.
Yeah, I think probably ultimately you're right. That would be the best course of action. I do feel like sometimes in the beginning, just for your own playing sake, having a multitude of options, like going with something like a Kemper or even an HX Stomp might be a little much. I mean, you could always go HX Effects or something, and then just like kind of have all that. But I think you're right. Just having a smattering of really nice pedals, because amps come and go, and eventually you're going to be able to have. You have to go, like, that's a long journey in and of itself, finding the amp that suits you as a player. But yeah, I think that pretty much covers it. Like, leave the guitars, get some more pedals, and a nice power supply.
Yeah. Yep.
And you're good.
And there you go. You've been dipped. Congratulations. Oh God. We should make a shirt that says that. You've been dipped. Nice. Well, hey. The way of fuzz is important. Rhett Shull 2020. It's true. I did say that. That should go on a shirt. Fuzz. All right. So Zach, you and I had something happen to both of us over the last week that's somewhat monumentous, an experience that we shared together around the same time. Do we want to share with the people what it is?
Yeah. Okay. All right.
One, two, 3. Wow. Look at us. Huh?
Look what I got.
Look what you got, and look what I got.
Wait, okay.
That actually sounds kind of cool.
No, it's all right. I got this.
Yeah. Hey. Ding, 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 ding. We both got Novo Solus F1s. Mm-hmm. Yep. You knew about yours. I didn't. I had an idea, but I didn't know.
Yeah.
So tell me about yours.
So I got this is the Novo Select, essentially, Solus, and I did change the knobs on it, but it's just the...
Of course you did.
Of course I did.
Of course you did.
I might change it back. I don't know.
Of course you are.
But this is bull black with tortoise, F1.
Beautiful.
And I can't...
Yeah, it's hard to... Half a screen's hard to show. Yep.
But it's awesome. It's got some boner flame.
Yeah.
There. And I love it. Well, show the people your guitar.
Easy. Yeah. Okay. So mine also a Solus F1. this is the Novo signature line. So designed and built by DF himself, Dennis Fano, the man with the plan. This was a gift from my lovely wife, Tilly Shull. Are you okay?
Yeah, I keep hitting my headphones.
Okay.
With the neck.
You need to take a second, take a lap or something?
Let me just put it down.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, so the story on this is back in October, I think it was, when we went to Nashville, which is like the only time we went to Nashville the whole year of 2020 because it was such a shit show. We stopped into Novo because I had to return the blue prototype Solus that I had for almost a year that I basically took from the NAMM floor last year. And when we walked in to Dennis's office, he had this sitting on his desk. He was working on it. It was just the body. The body had been painted and aged, and he had just cut the pick guard for it. So this beautiful, I don't even know what you call that, tiger eye, something like that.
I don't know. It looks like an old school, like an archtop pick guard or something.
Yeah. But he had just had this pick guard cut and was sitting on top of it, and I walked in and saw it on his workbench and thought, holy shit, look at that. It has the German carve and everything. So I was planning to buy it and was watching their Instagram like a hawk because, Novo goes direct now. And so they do all their sales mostly on Instagram. And I saw it the day it went up, immediately texted Matthew, hey man, how much is it? I want it. He said, it's sold. Thought, damn it. It went to somebody out somewhere and the guitar's never going to be seen or heard from again. And, but then I started thinking, I was like, wait a second, because they didn't post about it. They didn't say anything about it, which they always do. And right. I started, my spidey senses were tingling and I was thinking, I was like, I wonder if Tilly bought that. But I thought probably not because we're trying to buy a house. And then sure enough, Christmas Day rolled around and she surprised me.
There it is.
And there it is.
So you have like the high end Solus, and I have like the entry to Solus.
To be fair, isn't there's just two levels of Solus? There's
custom, so you could
right.
do whatever combination. They're to a degree,
right?
And then there's the signature where Dennis does whatever he wants.
Yeah, he's a madman, and this has actually fulfilled a long time want for me, which is I've wanted to have a Dennis Fano built guitar for a long time. My Ceres J is pretty close to that because it's an early Novo. They built that guitar when they were still in Pennsylvania before they even moved to Nashville. So it's basically a Dennis guitar. But this one is also a Dennis guitar, and it has the same kind of maybe it's just in my head, but it's the same sort of like mojo magic kind of thing to me as my Pink Sparkle does.
Yeah they they've been just killing it lately, but my guitar too is definitely, it's got a vibe, and it's super loud acoustically.
Oh yeah. So is mine.
Yeah. But what strings came on yours?
I think 10s.
Oh, really? Because mine came with 11s.
Oh, these might be 11s. I don't know. I need to ask Matthew.
And I was playing it, and I was like, it's too much. It's too...
A little too beefy?
Yeah, and so I put 9s on it, and immediately, after it kind of like settled...
Yeah.
Is exactly what I needed.
Right.
So, yeah, new guitar day for the both of us. But
right.
Here are the knobs. Let's see. So they're like Klon knobs without the chicken head, the little nose. So it's just a round thing.
Nice.
But I don't know. I have hundreds of like random knobs, and I thought, I might as well put something on it.
Right. So I got mine plugged up here just through a UA amp. And they're nice because they're so... What pickup? I don't even know what pickup's in mine. Is it a Fralin? It's the
Fralin.
Yeah.
A Fralin Hot.
Right. So it's loud, but it's really articulate. Like... Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, I'm so not used to any single coil. And so even though it is a hot telly pickup, it is nowhere near like what I'm used to, and
Yeah.
so I'm playing. I'm like, this isn't. It's not good enough. But
Dude,
then
well,
I'm like,
it's hot enough that it is creeping sort of into like PAF territory in a lot of ways. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Nice. All right. So what we were going to talk about though with New Guitar Day was how to buy a guitar. And this sounds simple, right? Like, well, you just go to the store and you find one you like and you buy it. It's stupid. Why are you guys talking about this on the podcast? But there's more to it than that.
Yes.
It's more about how to find the one, so to speak. That's what I think. How to find the one guitar, the one that like sticks with you, you know, and how to identify when you do encounter it. Because at some point in all of our careers as guitar players and guitar enthusiasts, we are going to, on several occasions, stumble across an instrument that just leaves an impression. And so I think it's important to know how to identify that, how to look for that, how to know when it's the right thing and when it's not the right thing, you know? So what are your thoughts on this, Zachary?
Man, you know, it's funny. I've had instances where, you know, I go to try something and it's instantaneous, where I just like, this is it. I knew like immediately as I like strummed a guitar. But there've been other times where guitars kind of crept up on me. But you know, honestly, a lot of those haven't hung around. I feel like the ones that always kind of make that initial big impression are the ones that I keep for the longest time. But you know, I think the things that I look for when I'm looking at electric guitars is I hardly ever plug them up at first. Like that's the last thing I do. I want to see how a guitar feels in my lap, in my hands, and how it sounds acoustically. Does it like really resonate? Does the whole guitar vibrate when you play? And after that, then I start plugging it up and kind of digging into what it does. But when you were like see an instrument, you're like, oh, I think I want to check that out. Like, what's the first thing you do when you pick it up off the rack or whatever?
Similar to you, I play it unplugged because that'll tell you almost everything you need to know about a guitar. I found an electric guitar. We should specify we're talking about electric guitars here. Acoustics, I think, are a different thing. It's a different process slightly. Yeah. But with an electric guitar, yeah, if you play the thing unplugged and it sounds good and it vibrates, like you can feel the body and the neck resonating, and there's a sustain, and it feels light and responsive, and the guitar is like bouncing back. If you dig into a chord or something and the guitar just springs back, that's a really, really good sign. And it doesn't always happen. There's a few things though that I want to point out that I've learned over the years, which is first and foremost, there's very often little to no correlation between the price of a guitar and its tonal quality or characteristics.
Sure.
In other words, just because, you know, a Gibson custom shop is $6,000 to $10,000 sitting there on the rack doesn't mean it's a good guitar. I've played some Gibson custom shop Les Pauls that were beautiful to look at and sound and played like shit. I've also played Gibson custom shops that are some of the best guitars I've ever played, specifically the Dutch Burst, which is still in London,
right? Which
I will own one day. I've played $500 Gretsch, the Streamliner. This is like a $450, you know, semi-hollow made in Korea or wherever they're made. $450. That guitar was a ringer. It killed. It was great. I should have bought it actually. So yeah, don't if you're going into this, you're relatively new, or you might be, you know, thinking, okay, 2021, I'm going to be getting into my first like big guitar purchase. It's not like buying a car or any other sort of big ticket item where it's like, okay, you have different price levels and there is, you know, sonic, tonal qualities that match to each one of those price brackets, because it doesn't work that way.
No, it doesn't work that way at all. I mean, honest to God, some of the best Les Pauls I've ever played have been Les Paul Studios. and like they were $800-$900 ones that we would get in at Carter, and most people just like walk past them because they're not flashy, they're plain everything but everyone's but the first year, they don't have binding, but man, we would get some and I'm like, this is the best Les Paul in the store, like tonally, like unplugged,
Mm-hmm.
and you just have to play stuff. And I know it's weird coming from a place where both of us just got guitars that we didn't play, like we didn't play these before we got them. We just trust, but that's a different.
Well, we should talk about though. We can get to that in a second because there's a point there too. But yeah.
But I think whenever you're hunting for guitars, whenever you're like saying, I want to get an S style guitar, a T style, or whatever, ultimately, and it's difficult in this world right now, but you just have to play as many as you can because you never know what you're going to stumble into and find something that can just check all the boxes. Because that Gretsch, unplugged and even plugged in, those are fantastic guitars. But being that they're so great unplugged, that just gives you, it's way more affordable than most things. So you're getting out better that way, but you can further tweak it to meet your needs because the foundation is just so strong.
Right, the bones are good.
Yeah, I think a lot of people get really hung up, and I'm guilty of this too, of kind of looking past or turning their nose up on things because I don't like those, or I've never played one of those I like or whatever. But really, you just have to sit down and grab everything.
Yeah,
and that's the only way to educate yourself into what you really like, because if you just kind of stay in one lane and only gravitate to one thing, you're never going to get the knowledge that you want to have as to what you really like.
Yeah. Don't be one of those people. You see this a lot in like, I guess the car world or whatever, where it's like, oh, I'm a Ford guy, or
right.
I'm a Toyota guy or whatever. I only drive X. In the guitar world, that's stupid. Sorry. If you're one of those people, I think that's dumb. Well, I only play Fenders, or, I'm a Peavey man. If Peavey made a car, I'd drive it, whatever. I think there are just about every brand out there, make great guitars for the most part. And there's a guitar out there for everybody. If you have $400 to spend, you can get a great guitar for $400 if you know where to look and you know what you're looking for. If you have $40,000 to spend, you can get a great guitar for $40,000 that is truly just alive and has the character. It doesn't matter. Each person is on their own journey and is looking for their own thing. But what loses me is this whole sort of tribalistic, it's like a sports team that you feel like you need to pull for, like, oh, well, yeah, I hate Gibson and blah, 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 and I hate Fender or whatever it is. It's like, dude, sure, but you can't deny that like the Les Paul is one of the most influential guitars of all time. It shaped music in the same way that the Fender Stratocaster did. Both are great guitars that I think most guitar players should, if they want to, have in their arsenal because they do those things really, really well. So yeah, the whole sort of guitar brand culture, allegiance, tribalistic thing to me doesn't make a whole lot of sense. That's just me. Yeah.
No, I agree. And I have been guilty of that. I have been like, I'm only going to play Gibsons, like years ago. And that, those were all the guitars I really had, and I've gone through that. And it wasn't so much of me turning my nose up as other things. And for the most part, I've been guilty of that too. I think everyone at one point or another in their life has gone like, I don't like X because meh, but.
Well, that's not necessarily what I'm talking about. I'm not saying you should like everything because I can, so for instance, like I don't like Strandberg guitars, not because I have any personal vendetta against Strandberg or the company. I know that they make fantastic guitars. Keith from 5 Watt World is a big Strandberg guy and he raves about them. But for me, the aesthetic quality of like a Strandberg and the headless thing is just not for me. But what I'm more so talking about is this, this sort of forum culture, like blind allegiance to a specific brand for whatever reason, to me doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah, I agree. One of the things that I like, I've tried to like this after working at Carter. I mean, granted, I only worked there for a couple years, but I felt like I was right when the store kind of like really kicked off. So I felt like I got a pretty strong education. Like some of the things that I like to do when I'm talking to people about guitars in general is just dispel myths, because we get so hung up on, I don't like X because of something I read, and you don't have any actual education as like with your own hands as to why you don't like those things. So anytime someone says those sort of things to me, like I don't like this because like Gibson has terrible quality control, I don't feel like that's entirely true. And I just say, you just got to go play more guitars. That's the thing you have to do. You have to play more guitars.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we all, dude, we're all ignorant. Like ignorance is not inherently a bad thing, because we're all ignorant of something at some point in our lives. And I think it's just about, I have been ignorant and said things out of ignorance plenty of times, but I think it comes down to, just experiencing stuff and trying new stuff. And then the other part of it is, you may try the thing and then your initial thought, it becomes reinforced. Like, oh yeah, I actually don't like Gibsons. This is not my thing. I don't like, this is not my cup of tea. With that said though, back to the guitar buying discussion.
Yeah.
There are a few practical things to look for just across the board in terms of build quality and workmanship that I feel like we should point out, because it can be sort of the telltale sign of a really well-made guitar, even in the budget spectrum, or a guitar that might be kind of overpriced, overhyped, that is really actually not all that great. So a couple things that I look for: whether or not it's a bolt neck or a set neck guitar. Oh, not put my phone right there. So the fretwork. Oh God.
Yeah.
The fretwork on a guitar is really, really important. How it comes from the factory. Are the fret ends rolled? Are the frets polished? Is there any high spots or low spots on the neck that you can see? Take a good look at the nut. First of all, see what type of material the nut is made from, and then just look at the fit and finish of it. Has it been installed well? Is it sanded flush with the edges of the fingerboard? Are the nut slots cut cleanly and evenly? Do they seem to all be around the same height? That was the biggest thing that impressed me with that Gretsch Streamliner guitar. Like for $450, it had some of the best fretwork, and it had a bone nut, and the nut was perfect. The binding on it had binding on that guitar, and it was perfect for a $450 guitar. So when you start to look at details like that on a bolt neck, like Fender, for example, look at how the neck and the body join together. Is there any like weird gaps that you can see? Is there any, oh God, sorry. Does it look like it's put together well? Now you're only going to be able to tell so much by eye, obviously. But yeah, what else do you look for, Zach?
I think that the first thing I do is I check the edge of the frets on the neck to see if there's any overhanging frets. Now that is not always indicative of bad construction, because
fret sprout. Yeah.
Because I mean, the winter can, like my Novo TCS, I had to take and get some fret work done because the wood shrank, because that's what wood does. But from a new guitar, it should be smooth. The frets should be polished to a high shine. You should never have that sort of, when you bend a string, you shouldn't hear it going like scratching on the fret. That's a big thing that I always look for. But especially on a bolt neck guitar, you're right. You should not be able to see any gap between the body and the neck. Some less expensive bolt-ons it look like you can put a business card in there, and that's bad news. And it doesn't mean the guitar is going to break necessarily, but you want as tight of a joint everywhere. You don't want anything looking like it was just glossed over. And that's something that you need to do on a $100 guitar all the way to $100,000 guitar. You just got to pay attention to those little things. But one thing I always try to do is I check electronics. You know, how do the pots feel, and other hardware? How do the tuners feel? Like those little things, because you know, tuners are not all created equal, and especially on a less expensive guitar, sometimes I feel like you can get lemons with as far as tuners, like ones that just tuners slip and they don't feel right, and then the next guitar, same brand, same model, they'll tune up fine. And so usually when I'm like checking out stuff, I'll tune it, mess with it, really try to see if just something's broken, because like your gut will tell you like, oh, this isn't right.
Yeah.
And it's not something that you have to have like huge experience like with, like, you'll know, oh, this pot feels really weird,
scratchy and weird.
Yeah. You'll just know.
But the thing to point out though, is that stuff is not necessarily, especially with less expensive guitars, that's not necessarily a deal breaker, because, and oftentimes, so I'm just going to keep bringing up that Gretsch because it's the forefront of my mind. I think it's a really good example of what we're talking about. Where they cut corners they built that guitar to a price point, right? Most big brands kind of do up to a point, and until you start to get to like the Novos and things like that, for example, where they're building the guitar and then seem to be pricing it accordingly. But with the less expensive like import stuff, they're like, okay, we want this guitar to fit in this price bracket. Now we need to make everything happen in the manufacturing process to reach that threshold or stay under that threshold. And a lot of times what they will do is cut corners on the quality of the electronics, specifically pots, resistors, and hardware, so tuners, things like that. Yeah. But with an example like that Gretsch, it had pretty shitty pots and things like that on it. But you could tell that they cut the corners there so that they could put more, I think they could put more effort and time and money into the actual manufacturing of the guitar itself. And to me, that's a really good sign. You can replace pots and tuners really easily. Right.
But, you never want to leave the store with a project unless that is your goal. Like with a new guitar, I feel like you should be able to, like with that Gretsch, I'm sure you could have just like walked out of the store, restrung it with your gauge of string and played a gig. But I've seen a lot of new guitars that have like a 3-way toggle that, you'll push it down and then it springs
pops back up. Yeah.
Like, and the pots, like bad pots, things that just don't work. Like those are the things.
Sure.
And it's not every guitar, and I'd say it's, a very small percentage, but like, as far as like things I'm looking at, like that's a big thing. I mean, ultimately the thing that I look for above all others is just how does it feel in my hand? Because for me, with my dumb hand, my dumb left hand, it just has to feel comfortable. And yeah. I've definitely like succumbed to like I don't even know what the word would be. Like I fell in love with the guitar for what it looked like or what it sounded like, but it felt wrong. And I bought it anyway. And then like years go by and you're like, why did I buy this? Because it hurts my hand to play, or it just doesn't feel comfortable.
Right. Well, I think that's an important point to bring up too, which is sort of the style and aesthetic value of a guitar. I think it matters. To me, it matters. It's part of the joy of ownership of an instrument like this. And I think guitars specifically are different than a lot of other things that someone might buy in their hobby or their passion or whatever it is, because I feel like guitars, even more so than amplifiers and pedals and things like that, there's a very personal thing about it. It's like you're physically like interacting with it in a very sort of intimate way. Like you're holding it and then with higher end guitars or handmade guitars, you can sort of see the craftsmanship behind it. You can see somebody spent hours and hours and days working on this thing. And so with that in mind, I think, the visual element. Do you like the way the guitar looks? Does it excite you? Like when you walk into the room and you see it sitting on the stand or hanging on the wall or whatever, does it kind of like light that spark? Yeah. Does it spark joy? Yeah, is what I'm trying to say. And to me, that is important. That's really, really important to me. I like the color of a guitar, the shape of a headstock is big. I feel like we don't talk about that enough, but the headstock shape will absolutely make or break a guitar for me.
Really, like, are you one of the people that really dislikes the Heritage guitar headstock?
I actually don't dislike it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think
Me either.
Yeah, I think it's not like my favorite headstock, but there are some headstocks out there that I look at and just go, ooh, no. Like and these are amazing guitars, and I hesitate to say this because I don't want to, shit on any brand or anything like that, because especially this brand, because they are well known for making incredible guitars. But the James Tyler guitars with like the weird hockey stick headstock thing,
it looks like a hand or like
I just can't do it. And I've played those guitars. A good friend of mine has had a few of them, and they are unbelievable.
Yeah.
But I just can't. I just can't do it.
Yeah, there are definitely, that's the first thing I look at. Like if I see a new guitar shape, because on Instagram you're just bombarded with all these like luthiers doing cool things, and I will say that's the thing that usually turns me off. Like the body shape could be a little different, but if that headstock just doesn't work, then I think the hardest thing to get right for a lot of people is doing like an S-style headstock shape.
Mm-hmm.
And
because you want to, a lot of times you're like trying to pay homage, but not get into a copyright thing with Fender, and then, or they're trying to just go completely off into a different direction. And then your brain sees this, well, it's a Strat, but it has this weird heads. A lot of people hate the Silver Sky because of that. I like the PRS headstock a lot. And I actually think it works well on the Strat body, but, some people, and rightfully so, man, that thing is it's what we're talking about now is completely subjective, and nothing that I'm saying here this is just my opinion, my point of view on this kind of stuff. But body shape is another really big one. And you and I both are sort of keen on alternative body shapes. We like offset guitars. We like stuff. The thing is though, it is, and I think you've realized this too, like I have talking to Dennis, it is really, really hard to make a guitar shape that looks right and will age well.
Yeah, totally. It is it's the greatest struggle of what we're looking at with Shoyle's fine instruments. So,
yeah. Mm-hmm. Exactly. It's trying to find that shape, man. We'll be chasing that shape for years till we get it right. The Shoyles, we'll call it the Shoyles ZS, ZR, RZ.
Oh, it sounds like a Chevrolet.
Yeah. It sounds like a Corvette or something.
Yeah.
Shoyles RZ.
Play faster.
It's got the fastest, lightest neck you've ever felt on a damn guitar. Guaranteed to improve your speed by 20 BPM. It's made of fucking carbon fiber, man. The thing's light as hell. You won't even feel it on your shoulder.
Oh, man. Well,
that's what we should do. All right. The Shoyles RZ. It's going to be an offset.
That's an Ibanez, isn't it?
I don't know. Whatever.
I don't think we can use that.
All right. Whatever. We'll come up with the two letters later. It's a offset solid body, but it's completely made of carbon fiber and it's completely hollow. So the idea is, that thing when you like reach down to pick something up off the countertop and it's lighter than you think it is, and you kind of like pick it up like, whoa. That's what I want. I want people to pick up our guitar and be like, oh, geez, I almost threw this thing over my shoulder. This is
wrecking shit.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. Well, our claim to fame will be the lightest guitar in the world.
We can be like Billy Gibbons and put helium in it or something.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
We'll find whenever they discover whatever dark matter is, we'll fill our guitar with dark matter.
Oh man. Well, I think that
I feel like, have we covered everything on
no.
What else should we talk about with, because I feel like we get so crossed up in tangents. I want to give people like good advice on buying guitars. Here's a good piece. So budget's important. When you have a budget in mind, you go to the store and you encounter something. This is what happened with my Saris J. I had a budget of $2,000. I wanted a P90 guitar, and I could spend $2,000, which is that's a really good budget. I feel like $2,000, really solid budget. And then I played the Novo, which was $4,000.
Woo!
Yeah. And but that guitar made such an impression on me that I knew, and I kept going back and forth on it for a month. Like, man, it's really good. I've not had an experience playing a guitar like that made an impression like that, sounded like that. It has the look. It's got everything. It's got the feel, the look, the vibe. It's twice my budget. If you encounter a situation like that and it's financially feasible, it might be worth selling gear to move up. And this is the point that I want to make. When it comes to selling gear to acquire something else, my personal rule is never to make a lateral move. Meaning, if you have $1,000 guitar, don't sell it to get another $1,000 guitar. But if you have $1,000 guitar and you're trying to get a $3,000 guitar, and you can make it happen by selling the guitar and then taking some money out of savings or whatever, that's what you should do. I always feel like if you're going to sell a piece of gear, it should be in the service of making a step forward in your setup.
Right. And to add to that, I would say don't let go of things that actually mean something to you, because like when in the pursuit of gear, very like sometimes you can definitely be like, oh, I got to make this happen, and you just grab everything and you like go take it to trade it in or sell it, and then 6 months down the road you'd be like, man, I wish I hadn't let that one thing go, because this thing I got is great, but that's sticking in the back of my head. Because I mean, a lot of things are replaceable.
Yep.
Most pedals are replaceable for the most part. Common amps, common guitars, they're replaceable. But things that really hit you, you're right. You just kind of have to make it happen.
Yeah.
Best you can. I will say I'm not a huge fan of like never go in debt on something. If you can't afford it, if you really can't, don't be a detriment to yourself or your family or whatever, the world around you. But if that's not the case, make it happen.
Yeah. I mean, I think look, financial fiscal responsibility here is very important, right? Like if you can't afford a $4,000 guitar, don't do it. The way that I was able to do the Novo was, and the reason it took me a month going back and forth and Tilly finally telling me to do it was, at that time, that was 2017. It was March of 2017. I was able to look forward. I had my schedule booked out for the entire summer and fall of 2017. I was with the Bloody Magnolias at the time. So it was like, I bought the guitar and then went straight to South by Southwest and had a week worth of gigs there. Then we went on tour. And then we played a festival. We played Ride Fest in Telluride, Colorado, which is, I think, the best gig I've ever had. Unbelievable. Anyway, the point was, I knew what income I had coming up through the end of the year. And that was also when Tilly and I got married. I bought the guitar in March. We got married in May and like moved into a house and like we're paying rent and bills and all that stuff. But I was able to plan out ahead of time and say, okay, cool. I can do this now in late February, early March, and then refill the coffers, so to speak, with the gigs and stuff that I have coming up so that we won't, it be in debt. And it was tough, man. Like, not gonna lie, it took every dollar basically I had to my name that wasn't pre-allocated for bills and stuff like that. And Tilly and I, like, once I bought that guitar, we had a few months of, like, okay, we're not going to go out to eat. We're not going to go to the movies. we're going to stay home and cook because I've got this beautiful new Novo. But even knowing that now, 3-4 years down the road, that is the best decision I've ever made when it comes to gear or purchasing anything. That one guitar is the best thing I've ever done.
Right.
So.
Right. Totally.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's worth, ramen noodles and white bread for a few weeks.
Because then it means more to you, man. Like when you sacrifice and you work your ass off and you save up and you you get that thing, that's honestly like a big reason of why that guitar has meant so much to me over the time I've had it. Is like it took everything. I busted my ass to get that thing, and it means the world, and it has stories, and it has sentimental value to me, and yeah, and so I would not look over that. And it doesn't have to be a $4,000 guitar for you. If it's a $400 guitar and it takes everything you have, and you bust your ass at work, and you save and save and save, and you go to the store and you buy that guitar, you will have the same feeling that I had walking out of that guitar store with the guitar on your shoulder or in its case. Like I was giddy that day.
Right.
Like I was just beside myself, and I like brought it home and put it on the its stand and just stared at it. It doesn't matter how much the guitar costs. What matters is you made the sacrifice, you worked your ass off, you did what you needed to do to buy it. And yeah, it's so rewarding, I think.
Man. Well, I don't think we're going to be able to end the show better than that.
We got a shill. We got a shill of the week.
Oh, I got mine.
I forgot. So you go ahead.
Okay. So my gear of the week, my shill of the week is this.
Oh,
my mono backpack. Which it's hard to. Okay, there it is.
Yep.
So if you guys, you have one of these? Sure.
No, I don't.
You don't?
Oh. And I'm like a mono endorsed artist or
a mono purist.
Yeah.
So this, I don't know the model of it, but it's just one of their backpacks, right?
Yep.
And the beauty of it is you can fit an insane amount of stuff in these.
Yeah, they're really good.
They're huge. They have all sorts of pockets. But one of the coolest parts is at the back of it. It's hard to do this where people can see it. The back of the backpack comes off, and then you have a laptop backpack, and the other backpack can be removed, and you can just take this as like a quick go bag. I've used this for years. It goes everywhere I go. I take this, and it's got polishing cloths, all sorts of like random guitar stuff.
I'll go. Where you stay, I'll stay.
Memory cards. It's just like, it's full of pockets, and the only downside to this is it has so many pockets that I lose things in.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, there's a micro USB cable and a Sharpie, and there's guitar picks. Oh, receipts from England that I probably need to put on my taxes.
Dude,
so
I agree. So I really love mono stuff, and shill alert here. I am endorsed, or do you say I'm endorsed by, or I endorse a company?
I guess, anyone can endorse something, but if you are endorsed by them, you have a hookup or something.
Oh, well, I have a relationship with mono, so we'll say it that way. Okay. But even before I had a relationship with mono, I love the mono bag stuff. I have a bunch of their cases. I've had them for years. They really do make good products. I've never had their backpack, but a lot of my friends have, and they love them. The cool thing about being able to split the laptop away from like a gig perspective is if you so you have all the cable stuff in there. Let's say you roll up to a gig, you've got your cables, you got a bunch of your gig stuff there that needs to be on stage, but you want to take your laptop and stuff to the green room.
Right.
You can have basically your tech bag in the front section, which is like your all your stuff, your cables, your spare gear, anything you need for the gig, that stays on stage or with your dead cases. And then you take, just unzip the thing, take your laptop and charger to the green room and do whatever work you need to do. It's great.
Yeah. The only downside to that thing when traveling is that it has so many pockets that if you have to be checked, it takes forever because they're like, what's in all of this? And it's like Mary Poppins bag, and just like pulling stuff out of it.
There's an interesting thing. So years ago, I used to work at an outdoor store, and I used to sell a lot of backpacking gear. And when it came to selling backpacks, I learned that doing my own backpacking, I would always try and sell someone the smallest backpack that they could physically get away with. Because oftentimes you'd like come into the store and be like, yeah, I'm going on a week trip. I need like this huge bag. And you go, well, no, what are you going to pack? What are you going to bring? And they say this, this, and this. It's like, well, no, you only need the medium-sized bag, because what's going to happen is you're going to pack the stuff that you need, and then the bag's going to be half full, and you're going to look at it and think, oh, I got to bring, I'm missing something. I got to bring more stuff. Same thing with suitcases. Pro tip. if you're traveling, pack in the smallest suitcase that you can physically get away with, and then you won't overpack. I'm serious, dude. I'm serious. Totally, it works. It works. You don't need a pair of pants for every day of the week that you're on the road. No. You don't.
I totally got away with carrying so much stuff into England in a suitcase. Like, I carried a store's worth of inventory. Just like rolled it through. You got anything to declare? Nope. I declare I'm going to England.
This is a running conflict that I have with my father. He is a serial overpacker my whole life. And now whenever we try and do like a father-son trip, usually like once a year, we'll try and do like a father-son thing. Last year we went to Crossroads together. So last year at Crossroads, we were in Dallas for 3 days. Okay. Dallas is a 3-hour flight from Atlanta. It's direct. You're there for 3 days. My dad brought his big suitcase, had a pair of jeans for every day. He had 3 shirts for every day. He had the whole, and I showed up with like a backpack or like a duffel bag. Basically, I had 1 pair of pants and like 2 or 3 shirts. And I just love giving him shit. Every time we travel, he's got like 3 suitcases he's rolling through the thing. And then the worst was one family vacation. We were gone for, I think like a week or something. And he had so much shit that he couldn't fit his dirty clothes back in his suitcase. So we had to stop at a UPS store in California and he had to ship his dirty clothes back to himself because he couldn't carry it all back.
Oh my gosh.
So anyway, that's completely just unrelated to what we're talking about, but still.
What's your shill of the week?
So my shill of the week, Fair Note is a company that I have a deal with, a sponsorship with, Universal Audio. So in all fairness, if you like, take my words with a grain of salt here. I like to disclose that. And I did get this piece of gear for free from them. So with that said, the Apollo Solo from Universal Audio, it's their cheapest, smallest, entry-level interface. It's 2 inputs, 2 channels in, 2 channels out. I think it's 4 in, 4 out, whatever it is. But this thing is fantastic. This is what I've been running the podcast on, like my vocals, all my live streams that I do here, like on my channel and everything. Man, it's like this big. It has a guitar input. It has 2 combo jacks on the back. It has enough DSP in it to use a couple of different plugins. So right now I have like a preamp and an LA2A on my vocal. And then I'm running a Fuchs amp model on the left channel for my guitar. And I think they are about $500 US. And for that price, they're pretty hard to beat for the like entry level Thunderbolt interface thing.
Yeah, man, the biggest pain once I got this new laptop is my Apollo Twin has the old box plug, I don't know, Thunderbolt, Lightning, whatever it's called, the big one. And now they're all USB-C sized. Mm-hmm. And so I had to buy a dongle. It's like, I don't like, God, it's so frustrating.
Yep.
But I mean, I don't think you can do much better for home recording, doing much anything with the Apollo or with the Universal Audio stuff.
Yeah. I mean, and the thing is their plugins are not cheap. But compared to a lot of the hardware, it brings up an interesting discussion that I'm sort of on the fence about. Of like, for home recording, do you invest in software plugins long term, or do you invest in hardware in terms of like mic preamps and compressors? There's pros and cons to both. But I think if you're a guitar player, you're starting out, you want to be able to record, and you could produce a full track with this thing yourself. I mean, you're not going to track a whole band, obviously, because you only have 2 inputs, but that's not really what it's designed to do. Great for podcasting, great for live streams, great for, video production, things like that. This is whenever traveling does come back, hopefully in a few months, this is going to be my travel, take on the road interface, do interviews with, do live streams, video production stuff with. It's really, really great. I dig it. So shilling for Universal Audio.
Is it powered through? Does it have to have its own power adapter?
No, it's bus powered. So literally it just takes you take a Thunderbolt 3 cable, can't be USB-C. I learned that the hard way.
Right.
Have to have a Thunderbolt 3 cable, And it's bus powered. So it just runs off of your computer, your laptop, whatever you're using. And you can, if you get that, you can start recording with Luna if you like. Luna comes free with the UA hardware.
Man, isn't that so crazy that like you can take a 5-volt? I mean, well, I don't know what USB-C or whatever this new Thunderbolt thing is.
I don't know. Chat can let us know.
Yeah, like what's the voltage output, and then ramp it up to 48 volts for like phantom power. Like that always kind of like makes me go, how are they doing that?
Well, I like.
I know how they do it.
I like this thing too because it gets kind of hot to the touch right now. Because I'm using, if I pull up the console DSP meter right now, I'm using for both channels. I'm using 94% of the DSP, so I'm using all of it, and it's kind of satisfying because it's like, man, this little thing's working hard. It's getting warm.
I don't like when things get hot because it makes me think it's broken.
No,
so
I like it. I like it. Makes me think.
I like when I'm wearing shorts and I put my MacBook on my lap and it's like, ah!
Well, a MacBook is a different thing. This is like warm. I should clarify. It's like, oh, this is nice and toasty. Your MacBook, you could melt lead on. Like mine right now, if I touch this, because this thing is just running at full speed, it's like the surface of the sun.
Yeah. I don't like that.
Yeah. Anyways, well, there you go, everyone. That's Dipped in Tone episode 19. Check out our merch.
Yeah.
Down below.
I'm going to continually update it best I can. And now that we have this platform, pretty much any idea that we come up with, we can,
or that you come up with. Yeah. If you have an idea, like let us know. Yeah. Leave it in the comments. Let us know. And yeah, don't forget to subscribe here on YouTube and wherever fine podcasts are. Download it. We should have a goal for 2021 for the show. How many subscribers do we want by the end of the year?
We're almost at 4,000.
Yep.
I want to hit 10K easy. I mean, I think we'll do that.
Yeah, I think we're. Yeah.
But I don't know. What do you think? 100,000?
Ooh, no. I think. Having done 100,000 on YouTube, that's hard.
Yeah.
I think 50,000 by the end of the year. I think we can go 11 times where we are right now. So that's our goal. 2021, 50,000 subs on YouTube.
That's it.
You can help us do that by subscribing.
Yeah, that 40% of you that listen and don't subscribe, just hit that button. We don't bother you.
Yeah.
We won't bother you.
Yeah, we do this once a week. We're not going to come knock on your house and ask, can I talk to you about our Lord and Savior? Who would be our Dipped in Tone
Dennis
Messiah? Yeah, our Lord and Savior Dennis Fano. Our Dipped in Tone Messiah is Dennis Fano. I love it. Yeah, so subscribe, help us out, help us get that number. We should start an email list, I do think, though.
Yes. Well, okay, so one goal for Dipped in Tone this year, and if you listen this far, chance that 40% that hasn't subscribed, they've not listened this long. This is already
they checked out 3 minutes in. Yeah, they've been long gone. Yeah.
We have the URL, so we'll set up a website. We'll also set up a newsletter and all that stuff, and try to make this more of like a legit thing. I mean, not that it's not legit, but like a thing.
I have a goal. All right, I'm putting this out into the universe. NAMM 2022, next year, we're gonna do a Dipped in Tone live at NAMM somewhere, somebody's booth. We'll take over. We'll
just set up uninvited.
Yeah. We'll just go to the Gibson showroom up there. And be like, hey guys, we need like an hour if that's cool. We brought our own shit. We're good.
Yeah, flipping on lights.
Just plug this. Take this XLR, put it in your PA, and we'll be done in about an hour. No, I'm serious though. NAMM 2022, we'll do a live episode.
Yeah, I think we will.
Yeah, it'll be a jolly, man.
All right.
See y'all. Love y'all.
Bye.
Bye-bye.